This video is going to be about the easiest mistakes and traps that you can fall into once you start making a little bit of money. For context, I have been running a development tech company for the past 3 years. Over the course of that journey of 3 years, I've built a 6-figure business and I'm continuing to scale it. I've made a lot of mistakes. Some of those mistakes are a result of something I call altitude sickness, and I've seen other people go through it. I've seen myself go through it, but essentially it's the same idea as when you climb a mountain. When you get too high too quickly, you go from sea level to 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 meters above sea level, the air thins and you start to get nauseous and sick and whatever. And the same thing can happen when you make too much progress in business very, very quickly. And this is something that happened to me at the start of my business. I made some mistakes, and I want to help you avoid those mistakes that I made. If you're starting to make a little bit of progress in your business, congratulations. But this is, maybe to help you avoid some of those pitfalls. Now, the first major mistake I made was taking my eye off the ball. And what I mean by that is I wasn't focusing on the right things anymore because I thought I got some deals and so I was good and the deals would just keep coming. That was a really, really stupid mistake of me to make. For example, right off the bat from my first contract, I was posting a lot on Twitter. I was very, very focused on social. I got that contract, and then I thought that the contracts would keep coming just through word of mouth, and I stopped paying attention to social media. That was one of the worst decisions that I made. And then, I started going to events and I started trying to do other things, but I didn't realize that the primary action that I had already been taking before, and I should have just continued to do, was the social media. Particularly, in that time it was the Twitter, whatever. It doesn't really matter, but you should be aware of what your primary actions are. What is the one singular action that you know that you need to continue to do in order to make more progress toward whatever your goal is? And if you lose sight of that, if you don't keep doing that on a daily basis, that's a very dangerous position to be in because you can easily fall off track. And when you fall off track, you waste time, you waste money, you make mistakes, it goes worse, and then it spirals downward. That was kind of the first major mistake, was taking my eye off the ball and not being cognizant of which primary action I needed to maintain my focus on at all times. Mistake number 2 was starting to think that I could expand and grow faster than I can. It's a little bit related to the first mistake, where I start to overthink things and I start to overcomplicate the business because I've had a little bit of success, and so I think I can expand into different things and try different lead generation methods. And I think my way into far too many things, and I spread myself too thin across too many surface areas. And that is one of the best ways to lose your money and lose your time and drive your business into the ground. I was trying to do way too much fancy stuff and I was forgetting the basics. That cost me a lot of time in terms of my business not doing well. That second mistake ties closely with the first one, but when you take your eye off the ball because you're feeling good about yourself and you feel like things will keep going well, it's very easy for you to start overthinking things and think now that you can do everything and you're bulletproof and you can just become Amazon all of a sudden and have 10 different services that you offer and do amazing at all of them. Mistake number 3 is blowing cash on the wrong things. What I mean by that is it's very, very normal for people to start blowing a little bit of cash, because they feel good. It's very easy to spend that money on the wrong things. What I mean by wrong things is it's okay every once in a while if you splash out on something nice, but that brings at least some kind of business value or friendship value. I'm talking about experiences that make you a wiser or richer person, richer in experience, or like spending on dinner with some interesting people, some interesting events, something like that. If you splash out to impress your old friends or something, I think that's the largest type of waste of money that there is. And I think anybody who kind of gets a little bit of altitude sickness, it's normal, everybody goes through it, but I think it's one of the easier pitfalls to avoid if you can. It's a very common thing, but it's a waste of money. It really is. And if you can avoid it, great. If you don't, whatever, you'll make more money in other things, but I still think it's worth trying to avoid if you can. Splash out on ways to meet more interesting people. So there are plenty of expensive hobbies that you can kind of try and join, but don't spend the money trying to impress your old friends. Try to get into new circles and don't try to impress the new circle. Come in with humility because you're probably a lot less rich than they are, but spend a little bit of money to get into that place or into that club, into that whatever, into that event if you want. It can be a great way to meet new people if you spend a little bit more money on something. But just make sure that you go in with the humility, knowing that you're probably the smallest fish in that bigger pond. So if you want to splash out, sure, find a bigger pond to go to where there are bigger fish, but just know that you're the smallest guy there. That's a great way to learn and to evolve, but just don't splash out trying to show off the fact that you're the big fish in whatever small pond you came from. And mistake number 4 is do not delegate the important shit. Do not think that all of a sudden, because you make a little bit of money, your time is worth millions, you're a billionaire and you can't do anything. Suddenly you think you got to buy back all your time and you delegate everything and hire employees to do everything for you and have somebody fucking brush your teeth for you. It's a really stupid mistake to make. I actually started to outsource too many things. One of the things that I did was I tried to outsource lead generation to an agency. I was like, okay, well, we've got a little bit of money and I want to focus on myself on the highest leverage activities. And so I'm going to outsource as much as I can. And I hired an agency to do lead generation. It was one of the worst mistakes I made because that's one of the core business functions that I need to be doing. At that time, there's no way I'm big enough to be outsourcing that kind of important function. They did an awful job and the business shrank and I suffered because of it. You need to be the primary growth driver for your business for a little while, as long as you're like a small business. It's important to keep the most vital engines of your business close to you. Do not overexpand and over-delegate too quickly. Delegate only to people who are really, truly competent, and keep everything else to yourself. Of course, you want to be taking up higher and higher leverage activities, but just be careful what you outsource. Just outsource the bottom of your activity list, whatever's lowest leverage, and make sure you outsource it to really good people. Prioritize, outsourcing things slowly and getting really good people rather than just trying to get everything off of your plate. And then you'll hire some kind of shit people. That happened to me at least. So anyway, hopefully this is a useful kind of insight and video for anybody who's starting to make a little bit of progress in things. You can grow quickly, but sometimes growing too quickly will set you back. Just be cognizant of these things. I think it'll save you a lot of pain. I record on a daily basis and I try and read comments. So if you have any video suggestions, comment them and I will try and make them into a recording. If you enjoyed, do subscribe. Most people who watch my videos are not subscribed, so I always appreciate it.